All right, good day, everyone, and we are live. Welcome to another edition of Rogue Mornings. Excited to be here today. You have to bear with me just a tad. I ventured out last night to play basketball, which I have not done now in probably close to 2 months. So today I'm I'm sore. I'm coughing up a lung. Uh, Great exercise, but anyway, regardless, hopefully everyone's getting their holiday plans in place. I know I'm getting excited. The kids are getting excited as we enter the festive Christmas and New Year season. As many of you know, V is currently traveling. He will be back tomorrow, which I'm going to be very excited about. So that way, as I'm sipping my coffee and doing a show, I can actually let him talk while I enjoy my coffee. But that's neither here nor there. Do want to thank our show sponsors, RemainCalm.net. If you're heading into next year, if you have some debt you need to get restructured, time to perhaps maybe refinance car, auto, need to clean up your credit score, RemainCalm.net can help. Also, check out the Crypto School ICO, the cryptoschool.ico. Some heavy hitters there that are helping with the effort to educate, to discuss more about the crypto space and its continuous involvement of hopefully, again, exciting things in 2018 for the crypto space. Also, check out My Gold USB, the new silverback being launched, getting a lot of rave reviews, a lot of people really enjoying their silverback. So check that out as well. Also today, just to let you know, I did get a message last night from Harley Schlanger, and we will be doing Hanging with Harley today at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Always a wealth of knowledge. Harley always helps to calm me down, quite a bit. Love their work at LaRouche Pack and also the Schiller Institute. So excited to be joined by Harley, and then I'll follow up and we'll close out the day with the Cuss with Gus. I'm going to heckle Gus a little bit because he did an interview with Jeff Berwick, and he's all cleaned up. He's no profanity. He's not smoking his cigar, enjoying his scotch or whiskey. He's just there, calm, collected, all cleaned up. So I'm gonna harass him a little bit about that. So Gus, if you're listening, be prepared. Let's go ahead and jump into the news and a couple of articles that really caught my eye as we continue to talk about the demise of the petrodollar. And it appears, and this comes to us from Russia Insider, that in fact, that the nightmare for petrodollar as the Petroyuan futures are due to launch. China is due to launch a crude oil futures denominated yuan before the year is over. You want to talk about a game changer? Let's read through this article a little bit. China has successfully completed its 5th round of yuan-backed oil futures testing. May officially begin to contract by the end of this year. It seeks to challenge the dominance of the petrodollar. Last week, the Shanghai International Energy Exchange said the system has met all the listing requirements after rehearsals for futures trading denominated in the Chinese currency. Quote unquote, an official launch during Christmas would be appropriate. The Western market would be quiet and allow the Shanghai Exchange as well as the Chinese investors to adjust in the early days. Chinese trader Yuan Kuiwi told Bloomberg. According to Wang Jiao, an oil analyst, the Chinese oil industry wants to have a local hedging tool while institutional investors look at Shanghai crude futures as an important product in their portfolios. As the largest energy consumer, China is interested in oil contracts in yuan. Beijing plans to introduce its own oil benchmark that will rival Brent or West Texas Intermediate. Experts say Chinese authorities will need to first convince large oil producers and consumers to use yuan, invest in the Shanghai benchmark. And we've talked about this, now for several months. It looks like it's officially here. This futures contract backed in yuan will be convertible, into gold in the event they do not want to hold the yuan. This is game changer. This, ultimately is the demise of the petrodollar. And why this is important is because, China has been looking to create more currencies that are used, worldwide other than just the dominant US dollars. And with China's One Belt, One Road initiative and the amount of countries they're importing and exporting to, there is going to be a significant amount of products that potentially could start using, the yuan, for those tradings. So this is a game changer that's occurring right now. It's the global shift that has been occurring for the last few years. It'll be interesting to see exactly what happens in the Middle East as far as the Saudi kingdom, and potentially with their IPO, which many are speculating right now may not happen. We won't know until the first quarter. Perhaps maybe this is why the Saudis have been waiting, is that they anticipated the petrodollar being launched. The Petroyuan being launched and replacing the petrodollar. So this is huge. You can check this article out yourself if you go to RussiaInsider.com. It's titled "Nightmare for Petrodollars and Petroyuan Futures Due to Launch." And from this analyst and their expectation, they're saying potentially by the end of this year, which will definitely game changer. Again, we'll have to just wait and see, specifically what happens. And in part, why I say that is because we're also hearing that there is more and more preparation being done for an event in North Korea as tensions continue to soar. And this comes from antiwar.com, and it's something that, again, we continue to talk about North Korea. We talked about it last week. We're hoping that cool heads will prevail. However, there's no guarantee that's going to take place. With U.S. officials making regular mentions to a military solution in North Korea, the soaring tensions of the Korean Peninsula are growing even more so in recent weeks, which has officials in both U.S. and China scrambling to prepare for worst case scenario. They list here a nuclear war. I don't think that would happen. However, as many analysts have stated, that there is any type of military intervention that's going to occur, there will be tragic loss of life, really no way to thwart the missiles, the attacks that the South would have to endure. And I think that's why the South has been, really wanting for peaceful resolutions. Now, China is, directly tied to the North Korean government, and it appears that the Chinese have been working to set up a series of refugee camps. And I'm reading from the article here, anticipating influx of fleeing civilians in the event of a U.S. attack. More grimly, state-run media has also offered instructional package on how to survive a nuclear blast. China has long presented North Korea as a close ally, and beyond dealing with the fallout, perhaps literally from a U.S.-North Korea war, they could be dragged directly into the conflict against the United States, which has them warning the U.S. not to do anything in haste. And I fully agree with that. Now, across the alt media, there's been a lot of speculation that the reason we have not had any type of military escalation at this point, or not, I don't want to use the word escalation, but military event, an actual first strike scenario, is the fact that we do have the Winter Olympics coming up in South Korea. And there was a lot of speculation on a few different media outlets that potentially the U.S. would wait till after the Winter Olympics occur before that would happen. So we'll have to continue to monitor that, especially since China now has, went ahead and announced pretty much that they will be rolling out their Petroyuan, and knowing that how disruptive that will be and how, the U.S. will counter that. We've had the administration who, currently has, labeled China as as an aggressor in terms of currency, in terms of trade. A lot of speculation on what will happen to the relationship once the Petroyuan goes live. So very exciting things happening geopolitically. We'll just continue to monitor it. Perhaps maybe when Harley comes on, maybe he can discuss it a little bit as well. Also, breaking news coming out last night in regards to prosecutors ask FBI agents for info on Uranium One deal. And this is huge because we know the administration and many in the alt news have really been pushing for the truth in regards to Uranium One. We know what specifically happened. However, this entire bogus Russiagate that continues, it's like 24/7 news cycle going around about the whole Russian collusion. So, so for our listeners, we don't have to speak specifically around Uranium One deal, because I know our listeners know what exactly happened. But it appears now that Jeff Sessions has asked Justice Department prosecutors have begun asking FBI agents to explain the evidence they found in a now dormant criminal investigation into a controversial uranium deal that critics have linked to Bill and Hillary Clinton. Multiple law enforcement officials told NBC News. Now, I did vet this. I did go through the internet, looked. It's been reported multiple news outlets, including NBC News. The interviews with FBI agents are part of the Justice Department's effort to fill a promise an Assistant Attorney General made to Congress last month to examine whether a special counsel was warranted to look into what has become known as the Uranium One deal, a senior Justice Department official said. At issue, it goes to explain what the Uranium One deal was. So again, there's some signs there, some hope. I know something that I've been really wanting to happen is just, some justice to see the criminality of the Clinton Foundation, the entire election rigging of the primaries, their influence. I want to see some people go to jail. I want to see, orange jumpsuits and handcuffs. And let's just hope that Jeff Sessions isn't doing this just to buy himself some time. He's been under a tremendous amount of pressure, from Trump to act. And hopefully with them beginning to question this, they will determine whether or not a special attorney needs to be hired, again, to take a look into the Uranium One deal, which clearly there does, to bring out the truth, especially with the recent revelations in regards to top FBI brass colluding in the election with Hillary. Truly amazing to be watching this unfold right now. It's very historic, and I'm hoping that the truth does come out, because I know that so many of our listeners, even friends and family, have been asking for this information to come out so we can specifically see the true perpetrators who colluded with the Russians, being the Clintons, the Clinton Foundation, to be held accountable for their actions. Shifting gears a little bit, I do want to talk about an interesting report that came out. And I think this is going to be huge. It's going to be very important as we head into 2018. And this specifically deals with the fact that U.S. life expectancy falls for a second straight year as drug overdoses soar. So this is a report that came out that life expectancy in the United States fell for the second year in a row in 2016. And it's clear the epidemic of drug overdoses, at least part to blame, government research said Thursday. Overall life expectancy for a newborn in 2016 fell to 78.6 years, a small decline, of 0.1%, the team found. At the same time, mortality from drug overdoses rose 21%. This was the first time life expectancy in the U.S. has declined 2 years in a row since decline in 1962 and 1963. The number of people who died, not the rate, went up in 2016. However, more than 2.7 million people died in the U.S. in 2016, a total of 31,618 more deaths than 2015. And I agree in terms of what the drug overdoses and directly relating that to a cause of it. But you have to think of how that was manufactured, and it's something that we've talked about here at Rogue several times. And it's not just the opioids. It's not just these synthetic drugs that the FDA, the DEA has approved. It's the concentrated effort that has been launched, the massive bribes, the lobbyists who have ramped up the opioid addiction, in this country. And let's face it, big pharma plays a major role into that. The last time I looked, I don't think that they're out there necessarily trying to cure, diseases or anything, because that's completely not profitable. So their role is out there to create more customers. So, we are an addicted nation as far as, pharmaceutical drugs. I mean, anytime you go into a doctor, even if it's just for a checkup, a physical, anything else. They're always trying to have you walk out with the prescription in your hand. And we need to reverse that thought process. There's a lot better natural ways, natural remedies that can help for our health. Now, there's another statistic I want to talk about, and that's infant mortality rate. And they attribute the 10 leading causes to infant deaths in 2016 accounted for 67.5% of all infant deaths in the United States. And they attribute a lot of these to birth defects, low birth weight, which could be attributed to the GMOs, everything in our food supply, and then also sudden infant death syndrome. Now, one of the things that they do not study, and it's always one of those things, well, we don't know why sudden infant death syndrome is occurring, but in part, I think that there needs to be a part that any child that dies from sudden death syndrome, that an autopsy or perhaps the coroner, they take back and they do a medical review. And more times than not, from some of the documentation that we're seeing, is that there's a direct correlation to vaccines and sudden infant death syndrome. We see this more times than not. So we know the last several years, the amount of vaccines that have been administered has been, really ramped up significantly. And we're also seeing that in a direct correlation to the leading infant deaths in the United States. And at the same time that this happens, and it just, again, just kind of shows you the amount of corruption that exists in our government. This is at the same time that the FDA and the DEA are coming out to Schedule 2 status for synthetic THC drug. There's no need for a synthetic THC. Cannabis is a natural plant, with the cannabinoids, the CBD, the THC. We don't need a synthetic THC. And then to find out the company that potentially is going to get approval for this synthetic THC is Syndros, who is also one of the companies who directly contributed to some of the synthetic drugs that killed people. So, Schedule 2s, in case you don't know, are drugs similar to Vicodin, cocaine, oxycodone, those particular drugs. But just amazing to see the level of corruption, the amount of stupidity that occurs, at the federal level, that we're going to take a synthetic drug, like THC, in part because we're going to find out here pretty soon that in fact the synthetic THC will lead to deaths. It will. It's been known. I think it's already has caused, but yet we're willing to see the DEA and the FDA approve these products. Now, that specifically could be the fact that this company donated $500,000 to the campaign against marijuana legalization in Arizona and has expressed concern about natural cannabis and the legalization of marijuana in regulatory filings. So of course they're going to oppose any type of natural remedy as opposed to their synthetic forms of CBD and THC that are around the corner. We don't need that, and we need to fight back against that. So again, I want to thank all of our fans for listening in. V will be back tomorrow morning for Rogue Mornings. I think so. Don't hold me accountable to that. Also, check out roguemoney.net. Great article up on roguemoney.net. Harley Singer hopefully will go into detail from LaRouche PAC, their most recent information that came out, in regards to some of the investigation. Also, Bankster Slayer has Stones Are Crying Out Part 3. I'm definitely going to email her today to see if she doesn't want to do a companion podcast with that 3-part series, that she rolled out, because I think it's very important to take a look at, some of these programs that, again, it's kind of funny how this year revealed so many of the quote unquote conspiracy theorists out there saying, anything ranging from, JFK to Area 51 and the UFOs and all these things that conspiracy theorists are this year are finding out to be true. Well, Bankster Slayer is going to help to kind of go over some of that information as well in regards to AI, what that's happening. So hopefully we get her scheduled for an interview real soon. We are, like I said, come back 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, hanging with Harley. We'll close out the day at 4 p.m. with Cuss with Gus. Again, want to thank our fans for listening in. Share, subscribe, follow roguemoney.net. I want to thank all of our fans and our listeners. This is producer CJ, and I'm over and out. Take care, everyone. Thank you.